Hi, guys. Welcome back to It's All Right. I'm your host, Natalie Baugh, and today's wonderful guest is Chelsea Fairborn. Chelsea is smiling beautifully if you're just listening to this, but you'll have to look up the video because she's just like so graceful. So, Chelsea, tell us about yourself.
I was just sitting there so content, ready. I'm like, is this the time that I pageant wave? Maybe. Good.
Yes,
I'll
yes.
spare the pageant wave today and the kisses and the wiping a tear. Um, a little bit about me. I'm from Utah, so Morgan, Utah, small town. Let's see if we're in Vineyard area right now, about an hour north of here. So born and raised in that area, basically. Then I went to BYU after high school, surviving a small school, and graduated from there. Oh my gosh, this is going to date me. Almost 8 years ago. And
Wow.
then have been working and living my life and having a little fun along the way.
Yeah, and we'll probably tap into a little bit more about your job and your jobs, I should say, because just you're one of the coolest people I've ever met. So I'm
Oh,
excited to like pick your brain
oh,
about it
stop.
all. Like
Well, that's very nice of you.
I love all you do. So let's see. What did you study at BYU? We'll start there.
So I was a broadcasting student within the comms department. So that was kind of my primary focus with an emphasis in sports broadcasting. And then I did a business minor. So yeah, my life is kind of divided pretty cleanly between there's broadcasting Chelsea and then there's like more of the business Chelsea. And then I just never stopped doing both.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I remember I met you on a hike with some mutual friends. And I was
Yes.
just like, whoa, your job sounds like what I want to do because you were kind of like a talk show host. And maybe you've still done some of that. That was years ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah, talk show host is very generous. I contribute to a show called Studio 5, and it's on
Yes,
KSL.
yes.
It's kind of talk and lifestyle show format.
With Brooke Walker.
Yes, with Brooke Walker, she's the best. Thank the heavens that I don't host because who knows what would come up in that show. But I do contribute for their food segments. I'm a food reporter for them, probably once a month. So I used to be more heavily involved in kind of the day-to-day production role, but stepped back about a year ago to kind of pursue some different things.
Yeah.
And they were so kind to let me keep coming back. So I go and eat food and talk about it on TV
Oh, that's
as
so
part of,
awesome.
yeah.
And okay, so when I met you, I'm remembering it now. You were like being a sports announcer
Oh yes.
at the
Well,
Beast. Was it the Beast team?
no,
I
for BYU.
Oh, it was for BYU.
But
That's
the bees are
right.
so fun. I do love being on the mic for baseball games. I used to do that for BYU all the time. But this
Okay,
is
cool.
we're really tackling the chaos that is my life perfectly. That it's like, wait, I thought you did this. And I'm like, well, I do, and I do
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
and this.
That's why it's so
Um,
fun.
it is really fun. Well, I joke that I live an a la carte lifestyle. So
Hmm.
I just kind of accumulate things that I enjoy and then figure out how to make it work. Sometimes I'm better at that than others, but for the most part, it works pretty well. So BYU falls into that category too. So while I was in the broadcasting program, my student job, I was working in the athletic department, doing
Cool.
sports marketing. So I worked there from let's see, I started when I was 18 and then all the way through graduation. And so I would run all of like the game promotions, behind the scenes stuff, events for the athletic department, that kind of thing. And that's where my sports marketing love really started to take off.
Hmm.
I got involved in some fundraising events, some booster work. And then there was a volleyball game, a men's volleyball game, and the marketing coordinator for that sport came up to me. He's like, "Hey, our live mic person just bailed last minute. Can you fill in?" And I was like, and he's like, "Well, you can talk and there's a microphone, so you'll be fine." And so he just like handed me this microphone and he's like, "Okay, you'll do this and this and this. Like, here's a script." And luckily I was in the broadcasting program and had some kind of
Hmm.
awareness of what that looked like or what it could look like. And so that was my first time ever being on the mic at a BYU game. And then I'd fill in because I would be the one managing everything that was taking place on the court. And then so it didn't make sense for me to do anything like to be actually be the person on the mic. But I really enjoyed it and it was really fun. So I'd fill in whenever our regular people couldn't do it. And then when I was about to graduate, they came to me and said, "Hey, you're not going to be doing this role anymore. Do you have any interest in being our girl going forward for football, basketball, and baseball?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I slipped into a limited role where people think I'm way more involved and have way more say in anything BYU, but I absolutely do not. Do not talk to me about coaching changes because I have no input. Um, but I slipped into this unique role where I'm only involved on game day. I host all their in arena like promos and timeouts and things like that, and it's really fun and engaging. And
Wait, and
yes, that would be the
you still do that?
yes, yep. So I still do that. This
Whoa.
is season. Oh gosh, I think season 8 for basketball. It was season 7 for football,
Dang.
if I did that math right. The math gets really hard after 5 or really after COVID. I'm like, I have no idea
Mm-hmm.
how long I've been doing anything. But yeah, so I joke that I'll keep doing it until legitimately I'll do it as long as it makes sense for everybody involved. But as long as people keep asking me when I'm going to graduate, then I think I look young enough to fall into that role. So we'll just keep going, smooth sailing for the foreseeable future.
That's amazing. I'm excited to hear more about like kind of how you got there and then all the other things you're doing that we haven't even tapped into yet. But
Yeah.
let's kind of back it up and what do you light up about? Like how does that fill into what you're doing now?
Yeah, I light up about people, and I think people pursuing passion is the thing that does it for me.
Mm.
And I think that's why I was drawn to the sports world. Is I am a sucker for a good sports flick, a sports story, and I think it mirrors like the arc of the human experience. That sounds philosophical, maybe it is, but we go through we put our head down, we work hard, we do all these things, we experience trials and tribulations and adversity, very similar to the sports world. And then there's like triumphs and joys and things and your little small victories and your wins. And so I love seeing people that whether it's sports that they're pursuing and they're playing the sport or working around sport or using sport as like their vehicle, like people at the intersection of sports is something that I'm really really passionate about, and I guess unintentionally light up about. I just love it.
That's awesome. And then like you mentioned you light up about food. What's your
Yes.
Instagram account called?
Your girl needs food.
Your girl needs food. Yes,
Yes.
guys, everyone go give her a follow because she posts where to find the best food and her review. And on
Do
Studio
not scroll
5.
through your yeah, exactly.
Don't scroll through when you're hungry. Love it. So, in addition to, do you call it sports broadcasting or what do you call that position? Sports
Um,
channel?
yeah, I mean, it's hosting. So there's, we can divide my life into whether it's broadcasting and like host mode. There's like
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea
Chelsea
over
host
here,
mode.
Chelsea host mode, and then there's more Chelsea business mode, and that's the other subset of my life.
Yeah, and that was your minor, you said. So you tapped into the
Yes.
business world.
Yep, tapped into the business world. And I did that one to be a little more fundamentally sound because I didn't know how much the broadcasting stuff was going to take off or
Mm-hmm.
not.
Right.
And I didn't realize at the time how valuable it was going to be to like future employers or people that I worked with to have the dual skill set. And so I was just like chaotically pursuing things like, okay, let's see what sticks. And then it made me really diversified and I didn't even really mean to. And the things that were the most appealing about me for broadcasting jobs were actually my background in marketing and business. And the things that were most appealing when going through like hiring process for marketing and business were my broadcasting experience. So it was kind
Mm.
of an interesting thing that I accidentally realized down the road.
Like your own little
But yeah,
niche you created.
yeah, I got a little too specific, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It's cool.
At
I
least not.
think it's so cool. You find kind of what you're good at, where you shine, and what you enjoy. Like kind of
Yeah,
the
and
trifecta for
I think
work.
something people are so quick to want to have the answer right away and to know what they want to do right away. I think for me, I knew I loved writing. I loved writing all through high school, and I had an English teacher that came up to me. She's like, "You know what? I could see you on the news. I could see that being your thing." And so I stuck with that. And then when I was going through broadcasting, not that I didn't want to be on the news, but I didn't love the heaviness of like news content. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I swung more sports and lifestyle. And that comment from that teacher was kind of the gateway into me being like, oh, I love writing. Writing comes into broadcasting, but I was toxically over involved in everything in high school. Just a classic busybody. I joke with friends from high school that I think I was in like 37 yearbook pictures that I had no business being in, just from here, let me be in this club and this club and this club, and I want free food after class on this day.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um,
I can relate.
yeah, yeah. Welcome to the club that co-founded. Um, and so I think I completely lost my train of thought and where I was going with that.
Just a
But
busybody in high school. You always wanted to be involved in everything.
yes, so busybody in high school, all of that. Um, that it really just I I didn't know for sure what I wanted to be in, but I wanted to just kind of experience everything and then and sit in it. And so the timeline wise, when I was about to graduate, I was working in broadcasting. I had an internship with KSL. So I did that internship for 2 years, and then they offered me a part-time position. BYU also offered me the role. So like nothing was perfect in the sense that here's a full-time job, here's this. And then at the same time, I randomly got approached by Tony Finau's team, who's a golfer on the PGA Tour. They needed help with his foundation and some marketing and kind of getting things off the ground there. And that was kind of an unknown thing too, that they didn't know how
Mm-hmm.
long it was going to last, what it would look like. It was building something from ground zero. And so I kind of said, okay, well, I'll just see which one sticks. And then I sat in all of them,
Wow.
all of those roles for, let's see, the first time there was any real change was like 6.5, 7 years in. And that
Mm.
sounds insane. And that could be insane for some people. I'm not saying
Wow.
stick in a job for forever if it doesn't fit. I think mine, I always knew that I was in a good spot and I just had to build it out, carve out my niche. But the point
Wow.
being, like, all of those situations, none of them were ideal. And
Like
now
ideal
it
with
comes,
what you wanted.
I deal with what I wanted. They weren't a 9 to 5, like a classic 9 to 5. They
Mm.
didn't fit the status quo. I think people thought I was fake employed. I don't know what they thought, or they thought I was
Okay.
insane.
Hmm.
Um, but all of that to say that I think for me, I benefited from being okay to sit in the discomfort, and then and kind of trusting my gut, trusting the process. Um, and that was a very spiritual process for me as well, knowing and feeling like I was in the right spot. So that now it's easy 8 years later that people look at it and they're like, oh, well, how did you're primed in this spot that's like so unique, so niche, so that. And it was only because I was willing to sit in something that maybe other people would have pieced out at because it didn't fit the exact mold that they
I
would
like
work with.
that. So,
Yeah.
what do you think kind of kept you going? Like what internally was making you just stick it out in a way, right?
Yeah. I there are a couple of things. So I have loved all the people that I've worked with in all three roles. So I think that was a big driver. Is at the end of the day, I knew that I loved the people that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And I also felt this constant like itch that there was something that, like, we were on the cusp of something for a long time. And I think Tony was probably the one that I felt that the most with, and that also mirrored his career. Like, I knew he was extremely talented. He's become a very good friend of mine. And so to be able to see that work ethic up close, to see the progress that he's making, and
Right.
then being able to kind of match him stride for stride along the way with his nonprofit and some of the other things we were working on. I just could sense that there was more. And so that was part of it, just kind of a sense and feeling. And a lot of it was prayer, that I get antsy, I get anxious, and me consistently having that relationship and leading, guiding light, if you will, with God,
Mm-hmm.
um, helped be a driver, because I could kind of go to him and say, okay, I feel like I'm on the right path, or if I feel like I'm spinning my wheels, then that was a constant kind of topic and tone that I would check in and evaluate. And
Mm.
I was consistently reaffirmed, like, nope, you're in the right spot. You're in the right spot.
Wow.
Whether that was a feeling or um, we joked too that a couple of times I had this itch to, like, go to the East Coast, jump into the New York scene, like, figure it out from there, do sports broadcasting. I think that was my original, like, fever dream. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and every time I would get that itch to move or that something would happen, I would tear an ACL. So completely unrelated to
You would
work,
tear an ACL.
I would
Oh
tear
my
an
gosh.
ACL, which is, again, so random, but it kept me physically here. And so that was,
Mm.
to me, when I look back in retrospect, that kind of a sign that I needed to, one, probably not work as much as I was working during those times, but also, like, stop trying to run away from where I was clearly supposed to be. Because when I was in the recovery process, I'm not going to be moving, I'm not going to be going away. And apparently I didn't listen to the messaging if that was what it was for, because I tore my ACL 5 times in my
Oh,
20s.
Chelsea.
So it just, that's why it's a running joke, because it's like, how many times did I think I wanted to move to New York? 5
5.
times. How many ACL tears did I have? 5.
5. Oh my
So
gosh.
we're trying self-awareness on for size. But I do think it was both a spiritual experience, and just, I constantly felt like I was where I was supposed to be. And I just needed that, just, it forced me to stretch myself and figure out why that was.
Hmm. Oh, I like that, to figure out why. Because
Yeah.
as much control as we have over our life and decisions and career and job, there's so many like unseen things
Yes.
that kind of aren't in our control in a way. Like, I mean, like you're saying, it's kind of just the universe, right? The power of the universe, what's supposed to happen in your life and when, like blended with what we're choosing, which
Yeah.
sometimes is the hardest thing to accept in life.
100%.
But yeah, no, I like just sitting, the self, what did you call it? Self awareness, right? Just
Self-awareness. And I
looking in the
think,
mirror, seeing what's happening. Go ahead.
because you can feel like you're in the right spot, but then for me, I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't know why, and I had to constantly come back to, okay, I was given a brain.
Mhm.
I can't just sit here and be like, okay, happened to me. Like life happened to me. That's good. Life will happen to you, but you're not going to be you're not going to be a player in it. You're going to be passive,
Yes,
and
sports.
that's not going to do anything for you. Right? I know. Sports metaphors, they just come out of my mouth
It's
like without even.
perfect. It's amazing. Everyone loves them. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
But I think there's a very important factor, and that's being intentional. And it's something that I have been good at times in my life. I've been terrible at times in my life. I'm currently on a let's really try to be intentional kick right now. But
Yeah.
I think intentionality is taking ownership of whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's work, whether it's relationships, whether it's people, it's family, and doing the work to understand it, to make sense of it, and to make it something worth doing.
Ooh. Tell us more how you're leaning into that. I mean, you gave us a good structure of what that means, but what are you
Yeah.
doing to lean into intentionality?
Well, a lot of times leaning into something stems from like not doing that in the past.
Mm,
So last year, let's see, 2023, I traveled more than I've ever traveled. And it was great. It was fun. A lot of it was work related. But I was busy and I was never home. And I think what was hard is I became a byproduct of the lack of structure that I put into place or the lack of boundaries that I put into place in some ways.
like
And
letting life just happen to you instead of
yes,
making
yes,
your life happen. Okay.
exactly. And a lot of that, it's hard because so many of the things were great things and things that I didn't need to say no to, but I was just saying yes to everything. And then it became really difficult when there were some other things that I really valued and some other experiences that I wanted to have that had to become no's because I had already said yes to other things that maybe weren't more important than the things I really wanted to be a part of. And so
Ooh,
for me,
say no to some things.
yeah, saying no to good things, I think is what
Mm.
is one of the hardest things to do. And so that's where I've kind of taken a step back for this year and I'm being intentional about, yeah, like I said, where I'm going, who I'm going there with, who I'm spending my time with, um, what that time looks like. And I think kind of just protecting my yeses a little bit more than I have previously. And it's not to say that any of those yeses were bad. That I think that can be something that's a little misguided is like, if it's good, then it should always be a yes. And it's like, well, if it's good, I think there are tiers and there can
Mm-hmm.
be a good, better, best
Yes.
yes situation. So that's what it looks like for me. And really, it was probably born out of just sheer chaos from a year of extreme yes.
I'm just trying to do it all.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, do you feel like you're slowing down with this too? Like when you're reflecting, does that help you slow down and get like take care of all the things you want to do?
Yeah. I have never moved slow, which is also probably something to work on and something that I'm feeling right now. I think I've been one that takes pride in being busy and always having something to do and kind of zipping around all over. I mean, I do bite off a lot of different tasks and responsibilities. So for me, it is making the I can still say yes to a lot of things, but then what does the rest of my life look like to make sure that those yeses can happen? And is it me being involved in the yeses? So when I look at it from like the business side of my life, what does my team look like to help make some of those things happen? Do I always have to be the person involved in something or can that be handed off to somebody else? Do like some of those things that just provide better balance
Yeah.
and that I didn't really get coached up on because I went not in reverse because this is a normal progression of a business, but I just didn't expect myself to be in this position or to structure my life this way. So I'm kind of playing catch up with, okay, I have all of these great things that I said yes to. Now, how do I make it actually work for me
Mm.
professionally and work for me personally? Because those are two very different outcomes.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, my mind's like reeling off 5 questions, but I'll start with, so this is kind of like more on the personal side of things.
Yeah.
Touring your ACL. So do you play sports? What are you doing on the other side of work in your career? Like you said,
Yeah.
you're creating that balance. So what does the other part of your life involve?
Yeah. So on the ACL side, I wish I could say I was like a superstar athlete. I was very athletic back in the day. All of the ACL injuries came from like walking on a soccer field, squat jumps, rehab. There's flag football in there. So
Oh
nothing
yeah.
epic.
But still those will get you.
But yes, I do love sports. I love playing them. For the business side, we talked about Chelsea hosting, broadcasting, whatever,
Broadcaster. Yeah.
broadcaster. The other side is helping professional athletes manage nonprofits. So their nonprofits and their impact, and then some sports marketing consulting. So I work with Tony, obviously in the golf world, and then work with Kyle Van Noy. He plays for the Ravens in the NFL. And then I've kind of spot consulted for some others on the side, and then work with Active Environmental on all their sports marketing partnerships and relationships too. So
Did you say
there's
environmental?
yes. So
Wow.
that's the formal Active Environmental, but active pest control.
Active.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Cool.
Yes,
So
yes.
how did you get connected with Tony like way back when?
That was so my boss at BYU was Polynesian.
Ah,
And that's important because it was like a cousin or an uncle. I don't know the exact relationship
yes, yes.
to this day, but a cousin or uncle of Tony's reached out to my boss at BYU and said that he was looking for someone to help with the marketing, to help with the nonprofit startup situation. And I was getting ready to graduate. I was young and cheap, and my boss recommended me. And then I met with Tony's dad and his uncle. We kind of chatted through what they were trying to do and what they wanted to accomplish. And then I connected with and met Tony like a week later. And then we kind of solidified things from there. And we step forward into the unknown, and have built an organization that looks completely different than it did then, as it should. It's 8 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we built something really cool that I'm proud of. I hope Tony's proud of. And it's been a really fun journey and process to kind of work with him on that.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. I was lucky enough to go to one of the events that you put together at Top Golf with Tony Finau, and it was just awesome. Like you are the Hallmark movie girl, with her clipboard, running around, making sure everything's perfect and thriving at it, literally. So it's fun to see you in that
Well, thank
space. I also went to a golf simulator place, which has like an office for like Tony Finau's cousin or something who's building some
yeah, yeah.
golf contraption practice thing. I don't know. It's cool. There's a lot happening in the sports world. So that's cool.
And
You're
especially
a
the
part of it.
golf world,
Yeah.
really fun. And I get really soft and sentimental because Tony's been a catalyst, like a huge catalyst locally and statewide, for golf to grow, because he kind of made it cool again in the state, and he's the most prolific golfer in the state. And
Wow.
so it's been really cool to have someone that I work for, but then that's also a dear friend of mine, to see
Mm-hmm.
his success on and off the golf course, and little wins that I'm not even sure he realizes, like, that are accruing kind of under his name and umbrella of influence. So I'm a very proud friend in that regard, that he has done so much for the game of golf and to grow interest in the sport, and he's great for it.
That's awesome. So, out of all these sides of Chelsea, is there one that you like gravitate toward? Like, what is something? Well, like, obviously, you can talk about all of these. You're lighting up
Yeah.
about just life in general and the life you live and have
Yeah.
created. But is there one like as you think about your future? I don't know. Like, what are you thinking?
So I think, one thing that is, I guess, more time sensitive is, like, we look at the BYU stuff, and that's not something that I'm going to be able to do for forever. But I think it's the thing that I'm most naturally talented for, or gifted for, if you will, that what people see or what they experience on the court, like, isn't far from what my personality is, or isn't far from, like, my demeanor and, like, so I think I can slip into that very easily, and that's always been a very natural fit.
Hmm.
But it won't necessarily look like that for forever, and I don't know what that role will evolve to, or when that chapter will close. But I think I have a very soft spot for that, because I think I grew up with my BYU family, if you will. I have been involved with that team since I was 18. and I'm 30, so 12 years of
Wow.
consistency with a group of people. So I have a really soft spot for that that part of my life. I think as far as long term or if I have a favorite, I really, really love purpose driven work. And I think that's the other part. And the reason why I love working with Tony, why I love working with Kyle, is I love the missions of their foundations and organizations and
Ooh,
the good that they're doing with their
yeah.
platforms. And I think it is so humbling to be in the position that I'm in and to be able to meet so many different people from so many different walks of life because I manage donors and relationships with donors. So we're talking people that have very high net worths all the way down to programming, and programming usually is the exact opposite. So for Kyle's foundation, it is foster care and kids in care. And then Tony's is underprivileged and underrepresented communities. And then he helps with literacy, mental health, and basic needs. And so
Wow.
I think it's a huge range of people that I interact with, and I'm so grateful for it because I think it's helped to keep my feet firmly on the ground and also help me keep my priorities in line when I look
Hmm.
at people that have everything, but then consciously choose to give back. I think is really impressive and really great to see. And then when I see people that have nothing but are still trying to contribute in a meaningful way to their community and to watch over their own and to interact and to lean in and make the most of their situation. So I think for me, and I think I truly think that people can find this in any career, finding the purpose, whether it's the people that you work with, the mission of the organization or the company, or what your role looks like, or your experience with people. I just think that finding purpose in what you do is what makes it fulfilling. It's what makes it lasting and worth doing. I There are times that works hard, but it is always something worth doing because of what the outcome could be.
Yeah.
Also what it does for me too. Selfishly, I benefit so much from being able to interact and rub shoulders with such a huge range of people that teach me,
Hmm.
that expose me to different perspectives, to different vantage points, and I will forever be grateful for the opportunity to be in these roles because I don't know how I would get the experience um, any other way. And
Hmm.
what's I don't know that I would even seek it out because I you don't know what you don't know. And
Ooh.
so without the experience, I don't know that I would have ever consciously chosen to go and work and serve with um, these people or to rub shoulders with high net worth individuals. I was kind of
Right.
my hand was forced, and I'm so grateful that it was, and that I didn't run away from the opportunity.
Oh, I like that. It's so cool. Like, kind of at the beginning, you were saying you light up about people as well as like in the sports world because they're driven people, like trying
Yeah,
to excel in so many different ways. And like, I've done a few episodes with people who are super into golf or football. And it's so cool to hear the life lessons that come from sports, and like
yeah.
when that is your whole life. And then just how that fits with just your purpose and your mission statement. So, do you have a personal mission statement? Like, because you've worked with foundations with strong missions?
Um, I think it's simple for me when it comes to what my outward impact is. I just want to leave people better than I found them.
Mm,
Um, so I keep it pretty simple where that's concerned, and that transcends work. That applies to relationships, friendships, people that I'm interacting with, and it also keeps me in check too, right?
yeah.
I'm in a weird spot where I swing to being in the spotlight on the TV broadcasting side to then swinging aggressively to the other side where I'm just put on my boots, put on my hat, like grab the clipboard, I'm ready to run.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that helps keep me grounded across um, both lanes and avenues, and also helps me be intentional in my interactions with people too. And on the spiritual trust the process life side,
Yeah.
my favorite scripture forever and always is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. Acknowledge him in all thy ways, and he shall direct thy path. And that has been true over and over and over and over again in my life. And when I don't know what to do, I think of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it provides the most bare bones, like self-soothing when I'm spiraling, that it's like, nope, it's okay. This is not something that I have to worry about. God has my back. And I know that.
Wow. Like sit in it and trust the process. Those are beautiful
Yeah.
verses. I love that you have them memorized and just boom. Like that's in your mind. That's like what's
Yeah.
pushing you in your life. Chels, this is so cool. It's fun to hear all these little aspects about your life.
Well, it's fun to be asked, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, people have like so many people are like, when I ask them to be on my podcast, some shy away and be like, no,
Yeah.
I would have nothing to talk about. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised. Like everyone has a life story because you're alive,
Right.
you have a story, you know? So it's super cool to
Right.
hear what drives people, what helps people be successful, as well as like life is hard. You never know what way you're going to go. And when you are more self-aware and striving to live intentionally, like it's amazing what can become of it. So let's end on a little fun note, like top
Okay.
3 food places. I know that's a heavy
Okay.
question for you, but
Oh no. Okay. So my favorite restaurant. Okay, let's see.
I know,
I'll
sorry.
do favorite restaurant in Utah, the place I eat the most, and then probably my favorite restaurant in general, like in travel. Okay, so favorite
Yes.
restaurant in Utah is a place called Frank's. I love it
Bronx?
with my whole heart. Frank's.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
spelled kind of like Frank's, but it's Frank's, and if you say Frank's, no, then you're not allowed to go to Frank's.
Bronx,
But it's like,
okay.
yeah, it's like upscale Southern comfort food a little bit, and it's just the best. They have a meatloaf there that I absolutely die over
Ooh.
every single time, and they do like curated tasting menus. I could go on and on, but I will spare the
It's
whole
in
TED talk.
Holiday.
In Holiday, right off of
Okay,
I-215.
I'm
I
adding
love
it to
it.
my
I'm going
list.
there this week.
Amazing.
Let's see. The restaurant that I go to the most is Aubergine. I love Aubergine. I feel like I need to be part owner somehow at this point based on how much money I have spent on Aubergine because I love it. The protein avocado crisp salad and the Rio bowl are my two good. I love them so much.
That's awesome.
And then my favorite restaurant, I'm wrestling with this one.
Like just traveling.
Yeah, well, it's for sure in New York.
Yeah.
Because most of my favorite restaurants are in New York. I did a sports broadcasting internship in New York, so
So
that's why I
cool.
have a strong affinity and why that came up. That was like my junior year. I covered the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, which
What?
was insane. I probably peaked then, but I think actually we'll go for a treat. Everybody that goes to New York loves Levain. I also love Levain. I have shipped Levain cookies to me, but my favorite chocolate chip cookie in New York is from Culture Espresso, and it is perfectly crispy on the outside and chewy gooey on the inside, and it's more of a flat cookie in comparison to Levain, and I absolutely die for it.
What's it called? Cultural espresso?
It's called Culture Espresso. Yeah, so it's a coffee
Mm.
shop, but they have cookies right there at the forefront, and they are so good. It's by Bryant
Wow.
Park.
I just found the recipe Googling it. So maybe I'll have to
Oh,
try to make them and see if I can get them.
yes.
Well, I haven't tried them before, but now I have a new
Listen,
recipe to try.
I can take a test. I volunteer. I will let you
Okay.
know for close.
Okay, that'll be my thank you to you for being on
Yes,
today. So
absolutely.
thank you for sharing those food things. Everyone follow along at Your Girl Needs Food. And Chelsea Fairborn will post your personal Instagram too. But you shared that awesome scripture. Is there another quote that just kind of like gets you going? Because I don't know, you're doing so many things, and I feel like busybodies have so much drive. So is there a quote you love that we can end on?
It's less a quote, but I've always loved the movie We Built a Zoo.
Oh
And when he
yeah.
talks about 20 seconds of insane courage, I
Mm-hmm.
think we can be our own worst enemies in trying to like hype something up or build something up in our minds.
Yeah.
And something that I have greatly benefited over the course of my personal life and professional life is just exhibiting 20 seconds of like insane courage to just full send it. And so it's less of a quote, unless we're quoting 20 seconds of insane courage and just to rip off the Band-Aid and do it, or a Nike moment, a just do
Nike.
it.
Yes.
I think those are my things. Like whatever you want to do, like
Just
it is
do
in
it.
your hands, in your wheelhouse. Yeah, do it.
I love that. I've been trying to live by the 2-minute rule because I've been such a list person, but it's like sometimes that you don't get the things done. So it's like if it takes 2 minutes and I think of it, I have to do it right then. You know, just do it.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. Oh, Chels,
Love
this was so much fun. I loved hearing more about your life. If anybody has questions, you guys can reach out to Chelsea. And everybody have a wonderful week. Live your passions, enjoy life, and we'll talk to you next week. See ya.